So today I came across a question on Reddit, which is the internet's biggest forum, that is. And the question was, how can there be consciousness in deep sleep? How can there be consciousness in deep sleep? So I'll try to answer it today. And it was in the Advaita Vedanta forum, which means that the person has probably heard of the avastha traya, which means the three states of consciousness, and the fourth as well. The fourth is not a state, but still avastha traya. So I'll go through them one by one. And of course, in the third state, which is the deep sleep state, you will get the answer for your question on how can there be consciousness in deep sleep. So the first state of consciousness, which is, it's just first because in the way which we are trying to understand consciousness. So the most obvious one is the first state, right? And the first state is the Jagrat Avastha, which is the state of wakefulness, or when you're awake, right? And this is very simple to understand. You're just awake, you're seeing the world around you, you can touch things, you can feel things, you can see things, you can move your body. Your body has these sense organs through which you are experiencing the world. So you can doubt what you're experiencing. You can think that maybe this is a dream, or that maybe what I'm seeing is not real, or maybe what I'm seeing may not be appearing similar to the other person that is viewing it. You can have all these sorts of doubts. But one thing is for certain, that you are experiencing it. And that is just being conscious, right? You can't doubt that you're having an experience, right? You're experiencing something. What that something is, it may be an illusion, it may be reality, it may be an object that you're seeing, it may be an object that appears as it appears to be, it may not be that. But what you can be certain of is that you're conscious of it, you're conscious of something, you're experiencing something. And that is the first state of consciousness that is discussed and very easy to understand. The awake state, or Jagrat Avastha. The second state is the state of dreaming, the dream state, Swapnavastha. And in the dream state, what happens is that the body is fully asleep. The body is not experiencing anything at all. It's on the bed, but your mind is active. You are just experiencing a dream, right? A dream that looks very similar to the world around you, right? And in that dream state, you might be experiencing people, you might be seeing trees, very similar to how you see it in the awake state. But once you get out of it, you know that it's a dream. You were dreaming it. But in that dream state also, the body is not active, but the mind is. The mind is certainly experiencing something. Even after you wake up, you can tell that you experienced a dream. You remember vivid details sometimes. So consciousness is also there in the dream state, right? The body may not have access to it, but the mind does. The mind is fully alive and awake, and it's experiencing. The dream state is also pretty easy to understand, and one can confirm without a doubt that consciousness was there, because experience was there. The third state, which is where your question was, the third state is the state of deep sleep. Sushupti, it's called Sushupti. Sleep, deep sleep. And deep sleep because, you could be half asleep, or maybe dreaming, having a slight dream, or slight discomfort where you're half awake. So none of that. Pure deep sleep, which means you are dead asleep. You know how we say I was dead asleep last night, which means no sense of what was happening. And in deep sleep, what happens is that the body is asleep, the mind is fully asleep, which means you are experiencing nothing at all. Now, how can you say that there is consciousness here if you were experiencing nothing at all? Nothing. This is very tricky to understand, and there are not many good answers out there on the internet. I heard one person on YouTube who's very popular. talk about this. And the way he explains it is that, you know how you wake up after sleeping, after a restful sleep, and you say that the sleep was restful, or I slept very peacefully, or I slept very well. That means there was an experience. And that's how you can tell that there was consciousness. You were conscious of how you slept. And that's not true. That's not really true, because the restfulness is felt after you wake up, right? After you wake up, if you feel refreshed, you say, yes, I had a restful sleep, or I slept like a baby, or I slept well. And if you wake up feeling all groggy, then you say, no, I didn't sleep well. But that experience is in the waking state. When you are awake, you feel how your body feels, you feel how your mind feels, and that experience is just sort of thought to be the experience, or just a projection of how you slept last night. So that's not really a good explanation of how there's consciousness in deep sleep, because the experience of restfulness or sleeping well is after you wake up, right? So then how can you tell, how can you say that there was consciousness in deep sleep? I'll tell you of a definitive way, and this way never fails. Let's say you are sleeping and somebody kicks you really hard, kicks you in the back really hard. That is sure to throw you off the bed, or make you jump out of the bed, and your body and mind just come alive, and you see things around you. You start experiencing again. You see the world around you, you see the fan, you see the room, you see the bed, and you see the person who kicked you, right? And you would say, yes, that kick propelled me into consciousness. And that's not true. That's not true. Because if there wasn't consciousness, how would you feel the kick in the first place? How would you feel it? Right? So if someone argues that consciousness wasn't there, I was totally knocked out, totally unconscious, and that kick propelled me into consciousness, it brought consciousness back into my body, that's wrong. Because if there was no consciousness and the kick came first, you would know of the kick. You would feel the burn of the kick, or just the ache from that kick, but you wouldn't feel that first sting of the kick, right? If there was no consciousness. But you feel it. You feel it. That is what really wakes you up. So the kick is registered because there was always consciousness. Consciousness was already there. It's just that the body and the mind were dormant. They were not registering any subtle experiences, any subtle stimulus. It's only when the stimulus was dialed up to a level which just wakes up your body and mind, that is when you see the effects of that is when you start actively experiencing again. But yeah, the kick didn't come first. Consciousness was already there. That is why you register the kick. So that is how we can confirm there's consciousness in all these three states. Even in deep sleep, when you think you are dead, almost not experiencing anything, not even almost, you're definitely not experiencing anything at all. Still there is consciousness. So I hope that answers your question, but I'll continue on to the fourth, which is not even the fourth state, but it is just consciousness. So the first three states are in which you have experiences, or at least the potential to experience. But the fourth is not even a state, it's just that consciousness that was already there in the three stages. But this time the consciousness, it's just pure consciousness. There's not even a want to see. There's not even a want to see, or there's not even something out there to see. It's just pure consciousness. And so much so that it's even wrong to call it consciousness. It's just fully in a potential form, where there is no stimuli or no will to experience. It's not even, you see how consciousness is always assumed to be flowing through things. Like it flows through your senses. I mean, it's just a figure of speech, but it flows through your senses and experiences the world. It flows through you. It flows through organisms and creatures' experience. So there is a will to flow, which is why there is an appearance outside, apparently outside. The fourth is just pure consciousness, which is not even consciousness. There is nothing to be conscious of, and there is no will to be conscious either. It's just purity. But calling it just purity wouldn't explain us anything. So we call it as a form of consciousness. Consciousness just has one quality, and that is the ability to be conscious of something, right? Which is why it is called consciousness. But pure consciousness doesn't even have that quality. It is nirguna, which means no qualities at all, not even consciousness. That is why it's just called the turiya, or the fourth. The fourth. Nothing else can be said about it, because there is nothing to say about it. There's nothing to observe about it. There is no observer there, not even observer. There's no seer. At least in the third state, there were no observations, but there was the seer, right? There was the ability to see. When somebody kicks you, you sense it, you at least feel it. But in the fourth state, there is no seer. I mistakenly call it the fourth state again and again, but it's just the fourth. Just turiya. No seer and nothing to see, obviously. So yeah, that was the answer to that question. I hope this helps someone progress on their path.